A famous cannibal is pardoned by Vladimir Putin for serving in Ukraine, and he is back to his village. Russian school officials want to ban Darwin's theory of evolution. Will it be replaced by the flat earth theory? The KGB wants to live in people's computers. Will it succeed? The war in Kursk is getting worse for Russia. Russian admiral wants Russians out of Russia. Russian economy shows signs of collapse. And the biggest news of the week is huge explosions rock Russia. And they give clue of what's to come next. Howdy friends, my name is Konstantin and welcome to Inside Russia, where usual Russia is explained by the unusual Russian. Welcome to weekend news updates. I give you crazy news updates every week, straight out of Mad Circus. First things first, there's no such absurdity that could not be realized in Russia these days. Please remember that. And the news? I call them crazy news from Russia. The news of Russia that matter and that you will not find in any mainstream media. Today's first news is from Sergei Shoigu, former Minister of Defense of Russia. Sergei Shoigu is in trouble. He was fired from the position of the most powerful man in charge of all troops, tanks and missiles of Russia, and in the last 4 months, 20 out of his deputies and business associates have been arrested and charged with corruption. And some died, very sudden and strange deaths. Clearly, Shoigu is in trouble. The garrote around his neck is tightening. And the final act of this Kremlin play has just started. Shoigu spoke for the first time since he was fired. He spoke of a few things, including ones that are out of his area of expertise and responsibility, such as Russian assets frozen abroad, the BRICS partnership, etc. But the most amusing was, well, let me quote Sergei Shoigu. If we had been admitted to the European Union in the 90s, we would have lost our sovereignty today. Our resources would have been stolen and we would live like other countries of the European Union. They would tell us from across the ocean to jump, and we, like other European countries, would ask, how high? End quote. Ooh, our resources would have been lost. It's amusing because we have our resources lost, but not to the Americans or Europeans, but to the gang that came from St. Petersburg 25 years ago to Moscow and took over Russia. And Shoigu is a big part of that gang. And also, it wasn't like Russia was invited to join the European Union. Shoigu says, if we had been admitted to the European Union in the 90s, Russian diplomats were desperately trying to get a visa-free travel to the European Union for Russian citizens. And they couldn't even get that, let alone getting admitted to the European Union. We would live like other countries of the EU, he says. You wish. Anyway, I think that by coming out of the shadow, Shoigu tries to neutralize hostile actions against him. And he sees that coming. More actions coming. I'll keep my eyes open and I'll keep you informed. So keep your eyes open for the updates. Meanwhile, after Shoigu spoke, 3 more people were arrested as a part of the ongoing investigation in the Ministry of Defense, corruption of Ministry of Defense, for the period when Shoigu was the minister. The head of the defense contractor company called ERSM of Siberia, Roman Bezrukov, has been arrested and charged with embezzlement of 1 billion rubles during the construction of the military communications center. accepting this information from Russian propaganda information agency TASS. So that is true. That is correct. This fact has actually happened. The fellow was arrested. Then the head of the military representation of the Ministry of Defense, Ivan Populovsky, and his subordinate Grigory Zorin have been arrested and charged with taking bribes worth of 11 million rubles, according to the Investigation Committee of Russian Federation. That's official information too. The investigation has found out that the suspects accepted bribes from two companies in exchange for privileges and preferences related to the execution of state defense contracts. Populovsky and Zorin have admitted their guilt. Another news. It's innovative. Russian state has launched a new service for the citizens, for male citizens. It's called Online Mobilization Subpoenas Registry. Russian Ministry of Defense has a new system of delivering mobilization subpoenas. They used to be delivered in paper, by hand, and signed for. Not signed, not valid, no subpoena. And they changed that. Now, there's electronic registry, and to issue a subpoena, all it takes is to press a button. Electronically issued equals valid, equals, accepted subpoena. You can't refuse it anymore because it's electronically issued. So there's no need for physical signature anymore. Now, it's citizens' responsibility to learn that subpoena is issued. The citizens must register at the special state-owned website and check for subpoenas systematically. Easy peasy. Sign up, log in periodically, and check your mobilization status. You see you have a subpoena issued, run to the mobilization center, get your K-47, and go to Ukraine. So hey, be in the know. Well, there's a little catch. When you register at the website, it requires you to install a certificate. Small, not a big deal. And it's issued by the Ministry of Finance in order to ensure a secure connection. Yeah, it's all for your security, for your safety. This certificate allows the KGB and other wonderful Siloviki agencies to track your internet traffic on the website and in the messengers. I wonder if that website has any registered users now. Who is in his right mind would actually let a piece of KGB software into his computer? Well, in Russia they actually might. If they believe that the West is the source of Russia's troubles and problems, why not to install this bug then? Easy peasy. The next news is from Kursk, where on September 11th, Russian propaganda started reporting about a Russian counteroffensive in the Kursk province. Finally, there's something they're doing something. Finally, army's there. Finally, our boys gonna kick them Ukrainians back to Ukraine. That's what they were saying. The Ukrainians will be driven back home. That's a promise, everyone said. Well, on September 16th, two more districts, that's equivalent of counties of Kursk province, two districts/counties of Kursk province, in two districts, mandatory evacuation was announced. According to the governor, Alexei Smirnov, settlements in the Rylsky and Hamutovsky districts near the border with Ukraine were to be evacuated. Mandatory. Smirnov explained this decision by ensuring security, and it was stated that the information is based on current operational information. You see, on the 11th, you start the counteroffensive to drive them home, and 5 days later, you announce mandatory evacuation because you're about to lose two more districts, counties. You know, everything is going according to the plan. Only whose plan? Needless to say that on the 11th, the counteroffensive news was all over Russian federal news, you know, all over propaganda. And the news on the 16th of the mandatory evacuation could only be found on Kursk governor's private Telegram channel. The federal media acted as if no evacuation was announced. They simply forgot about this Kursk counteroffensive. Hey, there are more important things happening in Russia, like weather forecast in Moscow, something like that. The next news is pretty scary. I actually want to refresh your memory. First, right after Russia invaded Ukraine, most Western companies left the country, ceased and desist. I forecasted that action would bring Russia many troubles down the road, and one of such troubles that I predicted was elevators. Yeah, most elevators in Russia, and definitely all fancy elevators, manufactured abroad, not inside Russia. Perhaps inside Russia that foreign companies built their own plants, you know, but then they moved out of Russia. They all left, and no one is servicing elevators, you know, in skyscrapers and shopping malls, business centers. And they all left without or with very little elevator maintenance. Elevators are equipment, and it's quite sophisticated equipment that needs to be maintained and checked thoroughly, regularly. If not maintained, it starts failing, deteriorating, and it's been over 2 years now, and we start seeing the results of that. The elevator fell down the luxury shopping mall called Afi Mall in Moscow, located in the financial district called the Moscow City, and it's right in the middle of Moscow. That's where all the Moscow tall high-rises are. You know, this is on the picture. 3 people were injured, and they were able to get out of the damaged elevator on their own. Earlier this month, another elevator fell down in a medical clinic in the center of Moscow, in Krasnopresnensky district. The elevator fell down from the 15th floor. 1 person died. And this is reported by the National News Service. Moving on to the next crazy news. Andrei Sinitsyn, Rear Admiral and the head of the Central Nuclear Test Site of Russia on Novaya Zemlya Island, Andrei Sinitsyn recently said, "Our children create parts for drones using 3D printers, weave camouflage nets, and then they send them to our troops, our boys, along with letters of support. They learn how to handle weapons and at the same time how to play with checkers. They attend events related to the youth army of Russia. Many, including girls, want to join the army in the future. And this is true patriotism. Parents play a significant role in this. Children see how their parents serve and treat their country and adopt this behavior. After all, people who don't share these values don't remain here." You know, I don't know why this always in the shadows man released this public statement. Perhaps he wants his few minutes of fame, but I actually fully agree with him. Russians who don't share these values don't remain in Russia. I do not share these values. I don't want my children to share these values. Moreover, it would be my personal tragedy, yes, tragedy, if my children did share these values. They don't, they will not. And all 3 million of us who left this for this very, very reason, we don't share those values. And this is where we proudly are standing right now. We're not sharing the values and we're out of the country. The next news, I don't think women are going to like this news, and I'm a little ashamed to actually say it and show it. And I think all people, men and women alike, are going to feel sad for Russian women now. Please watch Andrei Tkachev, the archpriest of Russian Orthodox Church. Our whole task today is to be serious, so that the boys can learn how to fight and sleep on the ground, and from one piece of bread they can be full, and then when they grow up, they will be brought to the obstacle range and armory to learn how to deal with everything. They will have to figure it out, like, we're going to be comfortable with that as fish swimming in the water. Between all these things, let women swim in their kitchens, between all the household chores, as they belong to the kitchens. That's where their women's place is, in the kitchens. I, as a Russian citizen, and I am ashamed by these words. I don't care if this guy is a priest or official or unemployed, doesn't matter. He is a Russian citizen in the first place. And him speaking, again, no matter who he is, speaking this is basically insanity. This is 21st century. And Russian women are still bound to the kitchens. Andrei Tkachev said everything I am against as a person, as Russian, as men. I believe that men and women are equal. Marriage is a union of two with equal rights. And to claim that women belong to the kitchen and that's where they're to stay, that's enslavement, basically, 21st century enslavement. That they keep on telling us of how magnificent Russian values are. The best in the world, Russian world, and we are spreading the light. I wonder if that's exactly what they mean. Women's places are in the kitchens. Ooh, boy, what has my country become? Ladies, aren't you happy that it's 2024 and you're not living in Russia? Another news comes straight from the Ministry of Economic Development. The officials at the ministry made a promise to Russian people this week, and it's a very interesting promise, It goes like this. By 2027, the average monthly nominal salary of a Russian citizen will rise to 119,000 rubles. Odd. Very odd. Vladimir Putin, in June, just a couple months ago, officially announced that the majority of Russians already earn 200,000 rubles. Almost double what the Ministry of Economic Development promises Russians by 2027. Someone is lying, and I guess we know who. Well, let's cut Putin's crap and look at the ministry's statement. Let me translate you from English into simple English. That message that came from the ministry goes like this. It will get better. You will get paid more, but not today, not tomorrow, in 3 years, in 2027. Soon, very soon, 3 years, But you can be sure it's coming. What you need to do now, not to complain, and wait, just wait. We promise. You have our word, ministry's word on it, We put it in the news, in the writing. We're telling you this news. It will get better. Life will get better. Just wait patiently and stay low. Don't say a thing. We promise. Well, I've seen this before many times. And anyway, one question I have is, how do Russian people keep on buying this thing over and over and over? They get burned every single time, and they keep on buying it. Whew. All right, let's get to the economic news. There's quite interesting news this week. Well, before getting there, let me just give you a short update on my demonetization. Not many news I have received lately. Still demonetized, still in the dark, still have been refused twice. Couple friends promised me to get some information from Google. I'm waiting for the answer. So all I have left is to say thank you so much for supporting me. Thank you for sending me, continue sending me letters, emails, Telegram messages. It means so much to me. Thank you so much. Thank you for buying coffees at buymecoffee.com. Thank you for becoming patrons. That's helping a lot. Thank you for your transfers to PayPal. Just this feedback is just absolutely, it's I feel love. Thank you for that. Thank you. Now, let's talk about the economy. A few economic news. The first one is the price of salmon is expected to rise significantly by the end of 2024, within a couple months, according to the Association of Russian Fisheries. The rise is due to low quantities of salmon harvested this year for some reason, and that leads to price increase. Experts say that the only way to prevent the rise is through state subsidies for the fishing industry to help restore fish population, to help with running costs and so forth. Now, if I were in charge of economic policies of the country called Russia, no way I would do that. That's just burning money. I would lower taxes for the industry, and that right after I would eliminate the red tape to the maximum to increase the number of market players, and that would be leading to increased competition, and that would lead to more competitive prices. And I would definitely turn down that kickback that the companies would offer me for in exchange for subsidizing them with taxpayers' money. I wouldn't do that. The next economic news, a third of Russians were left without vacation this summer, according to a recent survey by a company called VTSIOM. VTSIOM stands for All Russian Center for the Study of Public Opinion. Some of the reports can be trusted, and this one I certainly trust. So what does it mean? Every third Russian didn't vacation this summer, and it's unusual, as most Russian vacation in the summers, and that's the only season with normal, decent weather in that country. Then 22% of Russians went on vacations domestically, means around where they live. 21% stayed at home, 14% visited Russian cities, and 8% went to resorts in the south of Russia. That's pretty much the only place you can go in Russia if you want, seaside and beaches and swimming. Only 4% of Russians took vacation abroad. It proves my point once again. The living standard of Russian citizens is dropping fast. Not like Russians cannot travel to their favorite beach destination Turkey, Dubai, Thailand, Montenegro, Vietnam. All of them are still wide open for visa free travel for Russians. It's just people have less and less money. So they start saving and spend on things other than vacation. The next news is up in the air. The prices for flights in economy class on Russian airlines in August of 2024 have jumped by 29.8% compared to the same month 1 year ago, in 2023. According to Rosbusiness Consulting, that in turn cites Rostad statistics, which in this particular case, I think they sugarcoat a bit, but it sounds pretty bad, even sugar-coated. The average cost of an economy flight per 1,000 kilometers in Russia traveled in August was 7.9 thousand rubles. And this is the record high since Rostad began collecting this data in the year of 2000. Roman Starovoyt, the Minister of Transportation, said that in September that the several factors contributed to this hike in the prices of airfare, including increased passenger traffic, therefore increased competition, higher costs of aircraft maintenance, no kidding, and the general increase in fuel and ground service costs. Remember, we talked about fuel going up. Well, something is odd here. Increasing passenger traffic, that increases competition. Well, first of all, the passenger traffic in Russia cannot really increase by a great deal because 11 major airports in southern and central Russia are permanently closed due to the war. And most of the international flight routes have been cancelled due to the airlines are foreign made and they were leased and Russia stole them and they cannot fly outside Russia. That's it. Therefore, passenger traffic cannot increase, and he says it's increasing. And even if it did, increased competition would lead to decrease in prices. You see, he says increase in traffic leads to increased competition that drives the prices up. Doesn't work that way. That's how competition works. It lowers the prices. The more competition, the better service, and the cheaper service. That's market economy. But the Russian Minister of Transportation wouldn't know that about competition. He's only a minister, right? He wouldn't know things like that. I mean, he only went to university or 1 or 2 or 3, What would he know about competition? What would he know about transportation? He's just a minister of transportation. Another news is Russian central bank sharply raised the exchange rate of the US dollar in euro to Russian ruble. Russian ruble costs less now. They devalued it. 92.55 rubles. 92 rubles 55 kopecks for $1 and 103 rubles 18 kopecks for €1. What's much more interesting is that there's a black market being born in Russia just right now in front of our eyes. And that's a phenomenon unseen since the fall of the USSR, and I will dedicate a separate live stream just for that, so please stay tuned. And the most important Russian economic news, I think, forever and ever, is the oil price is dropping in the global markets. Russian oil prices have lost around 30% since June of this year, now trading for lower than $60 per barrel. Out of all economic news today, and not just today, but last 12 months, this is numero uno. Low oil price for Russia is sudden economic death. And this is definitely something needs to be looked into, monitored, analyzed, and I will do that. So I think oil market situation deserves a separate stream very soon. So again, please stay tuned. By the way, news like that come out every single day. And if you want to keep up with other breaking news from Russia, become patron of the channel. Every single day I carefully select and post 9 news that I find important, along with my commentaries, and I make it available to patrons of Inside Russia. So I'll keep you informed on everything you wanted to know about Russia, but didn't know where to ask. Now you know. Become patron at patreon.com. Get access to the news that matter. I'm gonna put the link down below so you will see it. And the next news is ugly. Maria Zakharova, the official representative of Russian Ministry of Foreign Affairs, claims that there is a direct evidence that Ukrainians have set up concentration camps in the territory of Kursk that they are currently occupying. That's very serious allegations. That's exactly what she says. There's direct evidence that Ukrainian commandos have set up concentration camps. That is a very serious stuff. Very serious allegation. That's international crime, and whoever does that needs to be investigated by the International Court, War Crimes Court. She claims that there's direct evidence. Well, get it together, build a case, and submit it, including the direct evidence that you mentioned, to the court. Somehow she talks the talk, but fails to walk the walk. Okay, you are not submitting the evidence to the International War Crimes Court. Okay, fine. Show that direct evidence to us, Russian citizens, to prove that Ukrainians have set up concentration camps. I have not seen anyone talking about it once, and I go through lots of videos. Show it to us. We are Russian citizens. We need to know. First of all, part of Russian Federation is under control of a foreign state and foreign army, and you are claiming on top of that they're building concentration camp. That's a big no-no. So come on, share. Zakharova, where is your evidence? Come on. No such luck again. Reminds me of a situation that happened 2.5 years ago. Gosh. Someone came on the TV and said, well, you know what? There's direct evidence that Ukraine has been Nazified and militarized. But he failed to give us one single piece of evidence of that. Instead, they just made a decision to bomb Ukraine. Anyway, this is a mess and this is ugly. I hate this stuff. Zakharova saying that, check it out again. Heard that before. What Zakharova is saying smells like the very same crap that we smelled in February of 2022. The next Russian news comes from London. Russian officials, I'd like to talk about a little bit about them. They're model citizens, they're so patriotic. And the higher the position of the official, usually the more patriotic that official is. Russian Deputy Prime Minister Dmitry Chernyshenko is definitely a very patriotic person. Heck, he's nearly a saint because he's much more than patriot. He teaches other Russians how to be patriotic. You see, he is Russian government's chief supervisor of science, education, and youth policy in the entire country. That guy is in charge of everything. He's in charge of education, of children, of adults. He's in charge of science and youth policy. That's basically, indoctrination. Anyone? But anyway, he is the teacher, the supervisor. Chernyshenko teaches young people how to live, basically. What values to adhere to and how to despise the West, everything Western. Now, for example, he believes, let me quote, West is trying to impose values that are so foreign to us, but our youth is very educated and advanced, and they are not even tempted by the Western values. Okay, fine. But what about his family? All are true Russian patriots, good family, model family perhaps. I don't know about that. Chernyshenko has two daughters, and the youngest daughter recently graduated from, no, not from Moscow State University, from Royal Holloway University of London, RHUL, with a degree in international management. And at the university, his younger daughter was actively participating in student life. She was a member of the committee of the student community of Russian-speaking students of RHUL and held the position of accountant there. The Russian-speaking student community mainly hosts various entertainment events such as traditional Halloween and Valentine's Day. Now, what would Russian Senator Milonov, who I featured in the last weekly news update, say if he learned that about Deputy Prime Minister's daughter? That she participated in Halloween celebrations, in Valentine's Days. Oh, Milonov doesn't like those. Oh no. Go and check my other stream for that. But I think he would say nothing. Because in Russia, all people are created equal, but some are created more equal than others. The Deputy Prime Minister said in April, "We have broken the tourist colonial dependence, and it has become fashionable and prestigious to vacation in our own country, Russia." And that's exactly what his daughter does. Flies to Russia from London to spend Christmas vacations with the family. Celebrate it in Russia. Nice. There are pictures out there on the internet. You can Google them yourself on things that she publicly did. I don't dare to say what she did here, but she would get prosecuted in Russia for doing that and posting pictures of that on the internet. People get prosecuted for much lesser things. The Deputy Prime Minister also has another daughter. She's older. In 2008, she graduated from Millfield School in the UK, one of the country's best private schools. Then she studied at King's College in London. Then she continued her education at the Institute for Political Research called Sciences Po in Paris, and now she lives and works in London. She's a managing director of a large known advertising agency. And there's nothing wrong to study and then live in London or Paris. It's just not only you when you not only when you say things when you brainwash tens of millions of young kids, making them despise the West and implanting them fake values, and your daughters study and work and live in the very heart of that very same West that you try to sow hate to in the minds of young Russians. Someone please wake me up from this bad dream. Pull me from this nightmare. This is just so freaking wrong. Okay, the next news is actually ironic, I think, and sad and funny, and who the heck knows. I won't beat around the bush, I'll just jump straight to the news. I'll quote Mr. Muslim Huchiev. This is the guy right here. Ex-mayor of Chechnya capital city Grozny, ex-prime minister of Chechnya, and now a federal government official of a very high rank, the assistant to the Prime Minister of Russia. I quote the very good assistant, "Everyone knows that this is a wrong theory. It goes against religion. This is the first step. I believe in the spiritual decomposition of children. We can just take it away. Darwin's theory of evolution is not true. It contradicts religious education. All religions have recognized this. What else? How else we should recognize in order to remove it from the textbooks and not to put into the minds of our children?" At the meeting with the Minister of Education of Russian Federation, Sergei Kravtsov, the good assistant insisted that Darwin theory of evolution should be removed from school textbooks and from schools in general. Amazingly enough, the Minister of Education didn't say anything back. He just kept silent. Well, I was thinking, who knows, perhaps the good Minister of Education doesn't believe in Darwin's theory either. That'd be ironic and funny. I was thinking about it and I thought, well, okay, that's just a minor thing. There's just one man's delusion. Although that man is a high-profile official, just one man, it happens. Except for Huchiev had turned out to be not alone in his attitude towards the Darwin theory of evolution. Russian Orthodox Church backed the good assistant. Check this out. Today, Darwin's theory is used as a tool for colonizing countries by Anglo-Saxon scientific thought because it justifies a generation of inferior people. The founder of the fascist ideology borrowed this from the Anglo-Saxons at one time. Therefore, we are definitely not on the way with them. I really hope it leaves the textbooks as unscientific. That's what the good priest said. It gets weirder and weirder. It's not even crazy news. It's insane news? I don't know. My dear Anglo-Saxons, thank you. Thank you for the years of enlightenment. Thank you for the philosophy. Thank you for the discovering the scientific method. Thank you for the French Revolution. Thank you for the Industrial Revolution, or revolutions. Thank you for Thomas More, John Locke, Abraham Lincoln, George Washington. Thank you for the Sir Charles Darwin and his theory. Thank you for your culture and spreading it throughout the world. Without you, this would be a much worse place. Please don't let the bad guys win. Thank you. And the next news is, it's hard to believe. It's cannibalistic. Meet Dmitry Malyshev, the cannibal, real cannibal. He was sentenced to 25 years. not too long ago for murder and cannibalism. While serving his prison term, Dmitry Malyshev was offered an opportunity of being pardoned by Russian President Vladimir Putin for his cannibalistic deeds if he joined the war. And he did. Spent a few months in Ukraine. I'm even scared to think what he did there. Then he returned from the front lines to his native village of Rakhinskaya in Volgograd province, where he is taking it easy now as of September 21st. The information has been confirmed by a large news agency called V1.ru. They ran a big article on that. You know, I said many times that Private Army Wagner was recruiting the scum of the scum from prisons of Russia. Russian Ministry of Defense followed the suit after ЧВК Wagner was defeated and destroyed. I said many times they use rapists, child molesters, murderers, and even cannibals in Ukraine. Well, this is the proof. Dmitry Malyshev is back from prison, pardoned for his cannibalism, and he is hungry. I'm just wondering how many people in this village around him are feeling safe. Safe right next to this cannibal pardoned by Putin and, pulled back from prison and basically sent home. What about Russian people in general? How do they feel? Do the Russian parents, aren't they afraid for their kids? Or folks, I'm so confused here. This is... I don't know what to tell you. It seems like I'm making this stuff up, but I'm not. All right. Before we move to the next news, well, the last news really, and the big news, the biggest one of this update, I'd like to ask you a favor. Please select 3 news that you like the most and let me know in the comments what they are. That helps me a lot to prepare following streams better, so that feedback is much appreciated. Thank you so much. Let me down below in the comments. Now, the last news is, this is what happened recently. I'd rather show you rather than tell, because the picture will tell you more than words. Check this out. And this is the second. Well, I'd like to tell you more about these explosions and what I learned from them, what they are, and what they tell us. Okay, so this is explosion number 1. Again, check this out. This is reported that it happened in the suburb of Tver city of Toropets. Toropets or Toropets, I'm not sure how it's right. Ukrainian drone hit an ammunition depot and an arsenal of a military unit. Nothing has been confirmed. There's very little information about it. It's rumored that the military unit is connected with missile defense or offense. Well, we kind of can see it from the explosion. Again, not much has been said in the news, almost as if it never happened. Not too far from Moscow, about 120 miles or so. And this is explosion number one. This is what happened the following day. So the explosion itself happened at night, and it didn't stop. It was going. Just look at the magnitude of that explosions. Those explosions. Explosion number two. Check this out. Look at the size of that thing. This happened in southern Russia, near the city of Tikharetsk in the Krasnodar province, not too far from the city of Rostov-on-Don, like about 2.5 hour drive. The Krasnodar territory, well, the Krasnodarsky Krai, Krasnodar province governor announced and confirmed that 1,200 people were evacuated from the city of Tikharetsk. It's a large town or a small city, it's on the border. I've been to it personally. Just a sleepy town, basically. According to the official information, due to the fall of the wreckage of one of the downed Ukrainian drones, a fire broke out, which spread onto explosive objects. And then the detonations happened after that. This is footage from a different angle.
Сердце перестало. Я в шоке.
I have a few conclusions I want to share. Number one, from the magnitude of explosions, it is obvious that it was Russia's biggest missiles blew up. They were fire mushrooms, for goodness sake, just like nuclear explosions. Of course, they weren't nuclear, but they were, same kind of missiles. Number two, the explosions proved that Russian air defense is even in the worst shape than I previously thought, and many thought. I didn't have any illusions before, but if you cannot protect your biggest and most valuable missiles from regular drone attacks, then you don't have air defense at all whatsoever. Number three, the explosions proved that Russian military is in desperate state. Me being as far from military as possible, I don't know anything about military, I just use logic and common sense. I realized that the military cannot store biggest and most valuable missiles like they were stored on the ground, under the open sky, without any kind of air defense. You must have the most uneducated soldiers in the world and most undisciplined, dumb officers to allow that to happen. And not just in one place, but in two places, and I understand it happens on a regular basis. But guess what? All those people who allowed that, they're dead now anyway. And number 4, Russian political and military leadership does not have an ace in the hole. It doesn't have anything. It does not have any surprise for Ukraine, for the world, even for Russians. It has nothing because it does not respond. It can do one thing very well and one thing only: to act as if nothing happened. And that's what they're doing. And number 5, these explosions combined with the situation in Kursk show that Russian military at its current state is impotent. Those biggest rocks in the country foundation, the 2 rocks, the first is military, the army, and the second is the economy. And both are in a very bad shape. The situation is not sustainable. It simply cannot last for long, like this. Something will have to change. And it proves my point, my forecast, that Russia has entered a period of very turbulent political instability. And now I want you to see what I think the current trends in Russia are. I'm going to put the link right over here. Check this out.